So let's move on. I just want to cover, see, we are finishing. If you saw Maslow's hierarchy, self-actualization is when you've really brought to near perfection what you are good at, your skills. Sachin Tendulkar is self-actualized. I'm not sure if he's self-realized or not. Self-realized is when you find out your true self and you can stay anchored there. You realize your true self. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that self has a dimension which is transcendental. Do you understand? Which is transcendental. So that's pretty high. That's what Maslow called meta need. And he said very few people are there. But self-actualization is very much feasible. And the Gita says the traditional concept of spirituality as something related to sannyas and moksha is not true spirituality. This is also a necessary part. So you have to do both. But ultimately moksha is self-realization. It's liberation. In fact, in the last course in self-awareness, we looked at Maslow's description of the qualities of the self-actualized being. And one of the qualities is, if you've really mastered something and enjoyed it fully, then you will respect all professions. You will pause and watch a carpenter at work with full respect, with full admiration. You will watch a cobbler at work, you will watch a barber at work, you will watch a tailor at work. You have no hierarchy in those terms. You will respect when you see that skill. There's a joy in seeing that skill being effortlessly demonstrated. When you see an archer shooting or a boy playing to perfection, you just sit and marvel. Or you will listen to music. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's because you yourself are able to do one aspect of one or more. You may be skilled in multi-skill. That's what we are talking about. So your respect is for intrinsic value, not for show, not for put on things, not for inherited wealth, not for power and position, but the ability, the sheer ability, how under very trying circumstances the guy is able to do the impossible. One ball left, 6. Last ball. How does he do it? And he does it every time. How does Donald Bradman score so many centuries? And he is not focused on scoring a century. He is just focused on playing his best. That is self-actualization. Self-realization is higher when you realize your true self. But you may not be interested in all that right now. So let's stay with self-actualization, and whenever it's time, let's do self-realization. Is it clear? But the Gita points in that direction. Clear? Because we are young, and then if this goes on self-realization, we'll get into trouble.
So like Einstein, Michelangelo, Da Vinci?
Yeah, they all self-actualize. Actually, Maslow studied, Einstein was one of his candidates.
But we don't know that there is self-realization.
No, we don't. Well, some of them may have been. I think Da Vinci was, I would like to believe.
Can we know if they were self-realized?
No, Ram Jane. Let's not get into this putting, it's an open-ended thing, by the way. Even self-actualization is an open-ended thing. It's not like you got a Padma Shri, a kind of thing. No, it's, there are depths to which you can go. And people who are self-actualized will not come and tell you I'm self-actualized. People who are self-realized will not say it because they see the self everywhere. They see divinity everywhere. So who tells whom? So this is for us who are caught in the lower nature, who are always calibrating who's number one, is he number one or is he number one? You understand? The question itself is a reflection of our lack of self-actualization. So we are always measuring. They don't measure. They don't bother. Do you understand? These are all broad terms. You should not view it from an ego perspective of reaching somewhere. No. It's a discovery. It's a realization. It's an actualization. Okay? So the moment you make it into a goal, like one of those deficiency need goals, you've killed it. So keep quiet. These things are not to be discussed in the same vein. They are super sensuous. And we've tasted it, but we are not able to anchor ourselves there. These guys are there all the time. And it's effortlessly there. And there's a uniqueness in them. That's when you become the true person you are. It's totally unique. Self-realization brings oneness, unification. Self-actualization brings uniqueness. So there's both individuation taking place. At the higher level, a unification takes place. You see everything as one. Do you understand? But this is your flavor, your special flavor for which you have been drawn. Your swabhava, which you've kind of honed to perfection. But that perfection also needs sadhana. Even if you're a musician, you can't give up that practice. So daily you practice for the love of it, for the sheer joy of it. Till the last day, till the last breath. Got it? Okay. Next topic is, okay, before that, we've covered this. Just want to cover a few items we've left on. See, we guys are not used to sitting still. We are not used to standing still. We are not even used to lying down still. Right? Even when you want to sleep, you're going to toss and turn. Yes or no? Have you noticed? And we tend to fidget all the time. We are restless. Arjuna is talking about the mind being restless, but our bodies are also restless. We don't know how to sit still, but we can sit still. And many distractions there. One is we feel kind of physical discomfort, right? You must have experienced this while sitting. How many of you are sitting on the floor? That's the best way to sit. How many of you are sitting on the chair? How many of you are not sitting at all? So when you sit on the chair, it's ideal if you don't lean against the back. You must choose a height where your feet are touching the floor and the angle between your two foreleg and the rear part is 90 degrees, and this is also 90 degrees. Sit erect. Actually, you will find that if you sit perfectly with your backbone straight, a lot of tension gets released. And our default is to tighten up and feel tense. So keep correcting your posture gently, like a plant, you know. You're like a plant which can move gently in the breeze. Your hinge is there. And it's like there's a balloon on top, a helium balloon which keeps you kind of there. So you are still relaxed in that sense. And that's very important, the ability to sit still. But every meditator knows that there are going to be all kinds of things. You'll feel our bodies are not used to staying still. We want to fidget. Unpleasant sensations such as pain, numbness, tingling and itching will appear. So, you know, you're trying to focus on breathing, but then she feels the pain there. Okay? So what do you do when you feel the pain there? What do you do? You'll move. You'll change your position. No? Don't do that. What should you do? Huh? Yeah, let it come, let it go, but you can do it up to a point. Your aim in mind training is to always intentionally choose the focus of attention. Now make the discomforting sensation the object of your meditation if it's too strong. See, nobody is saying you must focus on the breath. Your idea is to see, there are two things here. You have attention, you have awareness. Don't lose it in awareness at least. So you can put it in background, in your foreground you can bring something else. Nothing wrong. But don't lose it completely. So you will feel this pain. Okay, so what do you, normal thing is, if you feel an itch to scratch, you normally will just scratch straight away, is it not? No. You know that itch will go. That's part of the training. Okay, you are sensitive to, you acknowledge its presence, but if it really becomes too much, then okay, I'm going to move, but do it because you do it at your own will, and when you want to do it. So for the time being, make this your object of meditation. But if you want to move, okay, if you want to move, you decide when you will move. I'll move after the next out breath. So you're the boss. Then you gently move. And as you move, you feel the sensations as you move. After you move, the discomfort often returns. Quickly, same place it will come again. Have you noticed? Or it will come somewhere else. Because you don't want to sit. Your body doesn't want to sit. If this keeps happening, you'll realize there's no point after some time. So when you realize that you're going to get distracted, then you don't change your position. You'll suddenly realize you can master it. It's coming to distract you, but it's not going to get your attention. So you hang on. It becomes easier to stay with the pain and investigate it longer. See how resistance and impatience cause suffering. So pain is not causing suffering. It's your resistance to it and your impatience, which is a permanent cause of suffering, which has nothing to do with meditation. So you're training your mind to handle all that. So actually pain is good. We are not used to turning the mind inward. Okay, so the next problem is dullness and drowsiness. We are constantly scanning for stimulation. Have you noticed it? See how frequently you're looking at your cell phone. What are you looking for? Every now and then you check. What are you going to see? We are looking for stimulation in the outside world. Yes or no? All the time. Yes? Huh? Now you are asked to sit still and meditate and go inward. We are going to change the direction. From pravritti we are doing nivritti. Not used to it. The only time you switched off and went inward was when you went to sleep. So that's why when you sit and meditate or you sit in class, you tend to sleep. Okay, it's bound to happen. You're not used to it. But our great yogis did it to perfection. So it's a skill. It's a very powerful skill to be able to turn inward. We are not used to turning the mind inward, which is associated with going to sleep. Also, if we succeed in calming the mind, so let's say you calm down and meditation calms you down, your energy drops. Because there's nothing to stimulate you. When your energy drops, what happens? Again you go to sleep. So dullness and drowsiness, both tamo guna, naturally comes in the beginning when you're not used to it. So how do you keep the fire alive? You know, the fire has to be kept alive. Dullness in meditation can be strong as in drowsiness. So strong dullness leads to drowsiness, or subtle as in feeling a bit spaced out. From the face you can see the student is spaced out. Spaced out, you can also be spaced out in other ways in the hostel, I know that. But we are saying even without all that you can be spaced out, right? You're not there. Mind is somewhere else, some outer space. You're spaced out. It's a lovely word to use. All of us get spaced out. When you talk to someone and he doesn't know what to say back in reply, he's spaced out. Drowsiness usually leads to brief moments of sleep and sometimes yawning. Postural muscles relax and your head nods or your body starts to fall. It's happened to all of us. Not just meditation, in class, in the front row. So what happens when you suddenly come awake? You know, your head jerks off and then you're in tension. Yes or no? You're a little scared. That happens also. Then you wake up with a sudden jerk as muscle reflexes pull you upright, and that moment of jerking is very unpleasant. Rather go to sleep. It's much more comfortable. So all this happens, and it's nice to recognize this. How do you deal with it? With subtle dullness, you'll usually experience a comfortable state where you can still follow the breath, but without the same intensity or vividness or clarity as before. Is it clear? The Agni is not strong. You're dull. It eventually leads to strong dullness in which attention still clings to the breath, but the focus is weak and diffuse and the sensations vaguely perceived. It's like a cloak of darkness has enveloped you. That's exactly how tamas operates. The breath often becomes distorted. Sometimes you start snoring. Transformed by dream-like imagery and nonsensical thoughts start drifting through the mind. Yes or no? Sometimes, okay. Eventually you do fall asleep. Every one of us. So what do? Here are some tips. Tip 1. Take 3 or 4 deep breaths. Filling the lungs as much as possible and hold for a moment. Then breathe it out forcefully. Okay, don't worry. Here, don't be ashamed to do it. Because you're just practicing the Gita class teaching. Try it, all of you now. 3 or 4 deep breaths, filling the lungs as much as possible. Hold for a moment and then exhale forcefully. All of it should come out. Through tightly pursed lips. So, keep your lips little closed in. Okay. Okay, then next tip. Tip 2. Tense all your muscles, okay, in your body until you begin to tremble. Do it. Clench your fist and slightly. Then relax. Repeat several times. So, tip 3. Meditate. Don't do this in class. Standing up or do walking. Walking meditation really works because you really find it. How many of you are doing walking meditation? It's really fun. Good. And it's good if you complement that. Tip 4. This is the worst case scenario, okay? Get up, splash cold water on your face and then go back practicing. That also you can do. But sometimes you're really tired and that's not a good time to meditate. So you should find out when you're fit to meditate and don't do it when you're not ready. You're tired, you sleep.